Are you supposed to do a leg kick? Are you supposed to not do a leg kick and put your front foot down early? Are you supposed to stay tall when you hit? Or are you supposed to widen up, squat down, and get low in your legs? Watch the rest of this video, and I'm gonna tell you what's right and what's wrong to do in order to help you fulfill your full hitting potential. Stay tuned. Baseball truth. You shall know the truth, and that truth shall set you free, both physically and mentally. Welcome to this week's episode, and I got a good one for this week. It's basically about what to do with your front foot, whether you stride, no stride, leg kick, no leg kick, toe tap, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm going to tell you what's right and what's wrong. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of details of what's good, what's bad, and how you fix certain issues that you're dealing with. So first, check out ballplayersupply.com. Go to ballplayersupply.com and check out their stuff. It's awesome. So, do you leg kick? Do you not leg kick? Is leg kick something that is going to create power? Is it going to mess up your timing? You guys have heard it. I've heard it. I've said it. You've said it. Leg kick versus no stride, put your front foot down early is a common thing that's said these days. What is right? What is right in the community? What is wrong? And the answer is pretty simple. What is right is what you do individually that creates success on the field. What is right is what feels comfortable for you as a hitter, depending on the age level that you're at, to get successful at bats and a successful approach in a game. So what is right is always what you do best, and what is right is always what you do individually that works for you. One of the biggest problems that I see is a philosophy that is kind of a common thing for everybody that has to be done. So someone watches a video online, you go watch a big leaguer talk about how they approach hitting and what they do, and then you make everybody do it. And that's the worst thing you can do as a coach and as a hitter, is basically try to be somebody else. If you want to be somebody else, that's your favorite ball player, that's what we used to do, great, copy it, but always do what works for you. And what is right and what is wrong? Well, what is right and what is wrong is what feels comfortable and what gets the job done. It's that simple. So you got different things that are taught. The first one is basically getting yourself ready and doing a leg kick. There's different levels of leg kicks. You can lift your leg really high, you can keep it a little bit low, but there's coil in, there's keep everything straight. There's different ways of doing it, but the idea behind a leg kick is actually to create more power, bat speed, and timing. The funny thing about a leg kick is I actually help kids actually do a leg kick to actually help them create better timing, because a lot of times a leg kick will promote good timing versus mess up your timing. In some cases it will mess up a kid's timing, but that is basically a small percentage of kids that actually do it. If you learn how to do a leg kick, if you work on it, it promotes good timing and it allows you to be ready earlier, get you ready to compete as well. So I'm not saying you have to do a leg kick, but that's the whole reason for doing it. The other one is basically getting your front foot down early, or doing a wider base and what's called a toe tap, where you get your front foot down early and you no stride. Some of the best hitters that I know, some of my best friends growing up, they did a no stride. They would lift their front heel off the ground, they'd be really wide in their legs, and they would have no stride whatsoever and just be short and quick to the ball. And it worked for them. It's not something that everybody had to do. So the other one too is do you stand tall or do you actually get wide? Standing tall up in here or getting wide and getting squatted? It's your personal preference. And here's the thing about all this that I want you to get through this video. Always do what works for you, but don't change anything. And this is for you coaches, listen to me. Don't change anything unless it's creating a specific problem. And here's an example. So I've trained thousands of kids over the years, and I've taught different things. I in one session, I'll teach a kid to get his front foot down early and get wider in his legs, and in the same session, I'll have a kid more upright with his feet closer together. The reason is because you're trying to fix what their specific problems are. If they have a specific problem with power, if they have a specific problem with not being that big, if they're a little guy, I want them to do a leg kick to learn how to use every ounce of power that they got at a young age, and then as they get older, they can fine tune what they want to do. If they're bigger, if they're stronger, they might be a guy that's a little bit wider, that widens out, that doesn't stride because they're physically strong enough to do that. I think of Albert Pujols, 250 pounds, 6'3" or whatever, and he just no stride, boom, he has a little bit of stride here. Then you got Josh Donaldson, other guys that got huge leg kicks, and it works for them. So you have to understand, if it creates a problem, then you switch it. This whole get your front foot down early thing that's out there that you hear every game that you go to, every game that you watch, every game that's coached, you hear it said like 1,000 times, get your front foot down early. That's one of the main problems with creating problems for the hitters, is because there's no timing and there's no momentum involved. So is it important to get your front foot down early? Maybe, for some it works. I did a study It was about probably 2 years ago. I was home watching a spring training game, and there was a game going on, and I just decided to do my own little study. I wanted to see who actually lifted their front foot off the ground to hit versus kept their front foot planted. And out of 18 hitters that came up, out of the 18 hitters, I think it was 15 or 16 of them actually lifted their front foot off the ground, some sort of stride, toe tap, leg kick, whatever it is you want to call it. And only 2 of them had their front foot down early or left it on the ground. So I thought of that and I'm like, okay, that works for them. I watched another game, same thing. About 90% of them had some sort of front foot leg lift off the ground, and it works for them. So to get your front foot down early, it could work for some. It does work for some. It depends on who you are. It depends on how strong you are, how quick your bat speed is. Do you catch up to the ball? Do you not see the ball very well? It works for some, but it shouldn't work for everyone. And when you're out there hearing every hitter on every team, get your front foot down early, you're ruining hitters, because your front foot doesn't have to get down early. It has to get down on time to be successful. So that's one study that I did personally, but my personal studies on my everyday training and what I do, it's the same thing. I would rather a kid at a younger age meaning 9 to 14, 15 years old, figure out some sort of momentum-based, explosive mentality, aggression, bat speed stuff, than to try to get their front foot down early, because eventually they'll do what they want to do. And if you're strong enough and you can do it, then by all means, do whatever you want to do. So that's one scenario. A quick thing on the whole leg kick thing. So the bad side of a leg kick, here's the bad side. So there was a kid in our program that was just struggling a little bit. I shouldn't say kid, there's been hundreds of kids that struggled on different things, and I make them do a little leg kick just to feel timing and explosiveness and power. And you watch his leg kick, and it's not traditional. It's a little funky, doesn't look perfect, doesn't look right. But when he does it, it works for him, and he crushes the ball. Okay, so he goes, works on this. I'm like, yeah, I probably wouldn't do it, but if it works for you, then by all means do it. So he goes in, starts crushing, starts building confidence, starts believing he can be a better hitter. He goes out to his high school practice, and the coach says, you can't do that. There's no way you can do that. So he goes, hey coach, can I just try it for a couple at bats and kind of see what happens? He leg kicks, gets a hit every time, hits the ball hard every time, and the coach still says, hey, you're never gonna be successful against good pitching. So he goes against a good pitcher, same thing. So finally the coach has made him take it away. He takes it away, he goes back to getting his front foot down early, no stride, he loses it mentally, he loses all focus, loses all confidence, and then ends up going back to where he was and not being a very good hitter. So the moral of the story is, the point of the story, it's not about the leg kick, it's not about the no stride, it's about what works for you individually that's gonna give you a confident mindset to be able to step in the box and compete confidently without thinking that everything's all done all the time. So a lot of this is age specific too. Again, at the younger ages, we want to make sure that the younger ages, the kids are learning explosiveness, aggressiveness, a lot of mental stuff. A lot of kids at a young age get taught opposite. They get taught all these mechanical things at a young age, and they lose the explosiveness. Teach your kids at a younger age to be explosive, be aggressive, and then as they grow older, as they get a feel of who they are and what they want to be, then they can fine tune what they want to do and let them do it. So as a coach, here's the thing, as a coach, we have to be able to adapt and adjust depending on who we are dealing with. We have to be able to teach a leg kick to one kid and teach a no stride to the next kid, depending on what their needs are, who they are, how strong they are, and what they can and cannot do. We cannot, as a coach, teach the same cookie cutter stuff to everybody. That's one of the biggest problems with hitting stuff on social media these days, is all do it this way and it has to be done this way. Well, that's great, yeah. It's not that hard, it's not rocket science. Go look at a big league swing, they all look pretty much the same, but their setups, their stance, how they get there, their stride, their no stride, how they stand, how they squat is all individualized. And we cannot force it on players, especially at a young age. So the point of this video is to let you know, a leg kick versus a no stride, none of it's right or wrong. None of it's right or wrong. If it was me teaching a younger kid, I would say get in your legs, learn how to swing the bat aggressively. As you're dealing with older kids, you're dealing with pro kids, you're dealing with kids in college that understand the approach and what they're doing individually, then they can do whatever they want to do too. It's not right or wrong. Go look at Giancarlo Stanton, then look at Judge, then look at Harper. Look at all these guys, and they're all different in their approach. But I guarantee you, at a young age, they weren't worried about trying to get their front foot down early and swing a bat a certain way. They're trying to be aggressive. So that's what this whole point of this video is to understand that it's not right, it's not wrong. There's no one way to do things. And always, and this is including you coaches, do what works for you. Always do what works for you, even if it's a little bit untraditional. And don't let anybody tell you that, oh, that's not going to compete at the next level, because if you're competing at a high level where you're at right now, it's going to compete. You just gotta always do what works for you. And coaches, allow them to be themselves. Allow them to do what works for them instead of having to do it your way. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean I teach that to everybody. Me personally, when I hit, I was upright, I didn't even load, I was right here, and all I did was fall towards the pitcher and hit the ball. I don't teach that to anybody hardly these days. Some kids I do, but that's what worked for me, and I didn't have anybody try to change it, and I ended up being a pretty good hitter. But then there's other guys that it doesn't work for, and that's fine too as well. So leg kick, no leg kick, doesn't matter. Stride, no stride, front foot down early, whatever it is, do what works for you and don't force one way on everybody. God bless.